Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is episode number 78. I've got a very big grin on my face after a full, exciting weekend of SPFL action. We're recording this on the Sunday night as all the games are on the Saturday. So that's good for us. We can get recorded quicker, get the episode out quicker to you guys. And yeah, some really interesting results this weekend, Ethan. Obviously, there's a big one that we're going to be chatting about. But first of all, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well. As you said, very entertaining matches, storylines, fallout, a lot of stories today on Monday regarding managers, transfer news, other stuff. So yeah, very entertaining as Scottish football always is.
Mm.
And how's yourself, Alex? I'm sure you're doing very well.
Yeah, mate. I'm on cloud nine now, but it's not quite worn off for me yet. I'm very very happy, obviously, about the weekend's result. But we do have loads to talk about. Manager sackings, like you said, loads of transfer rumours, transfer incomings and outgoings. Celtic actually with one today. Another masterclass from the football doctor. So yeah, quite a lot to go over, but we'll dive straight in. We'll kick it off at Parkhead. 12:30 kick off. Celtic 1, Rangers 3. Um, um, uh, I said 3-0 before, and that it was a lot of bravado. I said it in the chat, and then I stuck to it on sort of public platforms and stuff like that. And I did think Rangers would win, Ethan, but I didn't think they would be able to go to Parkhead and score 3 goals, even how bad Celtic have been. Um, but yeah, very, very pleased. But it was definitely a tale of two halves.
Yeah, exactly that, and it was just what we've seen and what I think everybody's used to now with Wilfred Nancy at Celtic, and some excellent stuff from Celtic in the first half. I think the first 10 minutes was a wee bit sort of each team feeling each other out, but after that, I thought Celtic had control for a lot of the first half. I know Rangers had a couple of chances, but Celtic had most of it. They obviously get the goal through Yang, which I think if any player deserved a goal for Celtic for how they played under Wilfred Nancy. It
Can
probably would be Yang.
can we just talk about the goal for a minute then? Really, really, really nice from Yang. But I just want to, as much as I'm very pleased, you obviously have to look at the negatives. Off of a throw in, he's allowed to run through 4 or 5 Rangers players and blast it in, not even at the near post, kind of like in the middle of the goal. So I guess you could criticise Jack Butland a little bit. I think he was a little caught off guard, although I think his performance for the remainder of the game sort of absolves him of any criticism for that goal. But yeah, really, really shocking defender from Rangers there, Ethan. But you can't take anything away from the South Korean winger.
Yeah, exactly that. It was an excellent goal, and I think Jack Butland. I know a few people were criticising him, think he could have done better, but he does hit it hard, and sometimes it is difficult those ones when he hits it straight into the roof of the net. Maybe Jack Butland could have done better, but as you said, I think he covered himself in enough glory throughout the rest of the game. But yeah, poor defending. He probably shouldn't have even got to that point. But yeah, I thought he was Celtic's best player and the best player probably on the pitch in the first half. I think he had as well as having the most goals, obviously in the first half. I think he had the most tackles as well. So yeah, I think he's been one who's really flourished under Wilfred Nancy, unlike probably 90% of the Celtic playing squad, as we'll get on to.
Mm.
And yeah, it was really interesting. I thought we were seeing. I don't know if you maybe thought the same, but I thought we were seeing a lot of similar patterns to what happened in the League Cup game. I thought Rangers were quite passive in the first half. Don't think they got the press right at all. And then
No, there was
obviously,
there was clear from watching it and from watching analysis and stuff. There was clear instructions for specific players to sort of man mark,
yeah,
and it wasn't working until Asgard was instructed to man mark Cal McGregor. Cal McGregor spotted that very early on and just started pulling Asgard away from the play. For some reason, Manny Fernandez was told to man mark Arnett Engels by the looks of it. and
Yeah,
he was getting pulled all over the shop. The back line, Raskin was having to drop into the centre back position. Rangers did not get it right at all in the first half, and Celtic should have been maybe 3-4 goals in front. I mean, if they had, I mean, our mate Anthony was talking about how he regrets all the stick he gave to Adam Ida because now they've got Johnny Kenny up front, and he because probably Adam Ida would have buried a couple of those opportunities. There was one. It was a good save from Jack Butland, but Kenny should probably get a better connection to it and pick out a corner. I think he slips a little bit when he's taking it. There's a few more. Yang had was given a lot of problems. They had a header from a weird angle that Butland nearly spilled into his own net, but Fernandez was there to clear it off the line.
yeah, and I think it was really interesting. That was one I picked up on, the Fernandez on Engels, and it did kind of make sense. I know it's a bit strange, the centre back marking one of the deep line midfielders, but Engels was kind of the spare man because of the Celtic obviously playing the sort of four in midfield, the box midfield. You've got the two attacking Celtic players, which was Nigrin and Maeda on Raskin and Barron, then Asgard, Mark and McGregor, as we've seen in the Hampden, the League Cup semi, and then trying to nullify Engels. So I thought picked out a few good passes in behind, and that was it. Celtic were getting and Johnny Kane was getting into really good positions because he was getting one on one with John Souttar and exploiting the lack of Souttar's probably pace compared to Johnny Kenny's. He was getting in behind, and then Danny Rowe switched it, and it never really clicked for Rangers in the first half. But obviously, where Danny Rowe earns his money is the Rangers manager, and earns probably a lot more respect and credit from me as someone who said that he needed to win this game because he hasn't won a big game, or a game, not a big game as in a Motherwell at home. They were big games. Hibs away, Hibs at home. They had to win. But in
Like
terms of going
a
to,
game against one of the title contenders, a game against
yes,
Hearts
well,
or
yeah. But I think we're not ready to say Hibs and Motherwell are title contenders yet. They're in the second pack, along with, I'll say, Celtic have joined the second pack despite being in second. But yeah, no, to beat Hearts or to Celtic, and that's exactly what he done in his substitution at half time to take off Taylor Asgard, who couldn't really get in the game. He was on a yellow card, and bring on Mohamed Diamande, who I would say is probably just
Diamande lives for these fixtures. By the way, he just gets stuck right in.
he
Um,
does.
yeah, and you could see Rangers, as well as the personnel change, they made the tactical change. They went to, rather than the man marking, they just went to a flat four. They were much more
Yeah,
aggressive in their press. A lot of great. By the way, we will talk about him a lot because of his two goals, but I thought the big man Yusuf Chermiti was really good at that as well. Just all round, really really good centre forward play from him, and he's good at a lot of things. It's just not been, the goals haven't been coming for him, but he did manage to get them. And yeah, the second half, I think it exposed what a lot of the Celtic fans have been complaining about, and for me has drawn a lot of comparisons to Russell Martin about sort of the refusal to change or the inability to change tactically. And I thought some of his substitutions were very strange. A debut for Julian Araujo, but you bring him on and you're displacing the best player on the pitch for Celtic for the day. So, that's just one of the very strange changes. And and Celtic, obviously, they concede. I think it was around the 50th minute after a break down the right hand side. It goes out for a throw in. It's taken quickly. Some nice interchanging play from Raskin and Diamande. Raskin plays it across, and Yusuf Chermiti's there to tap it in with a smart finish. Raskin's ball back from the byline, and it's weird. It's almost from a throw in from an identical position to Celtic's goal,
yeah,
and it's some more poor defending, but some nice play from Rangers in there.
yeah. Exactly. It's the exact same channel, the pitch, the inside right channel. and kind of bobbles a wee bit after some nice play from the throw in, as you said. But I've got to say, Rangers probably should have punished Celtic right before that. I think it was Tierney, I think, that played it down the line to Dujon Sterling. Well, he tried to play it down the line to Maeda, and Dujon Sterling picked it up, and Celtic counter-attacked. Sterling was on the end of it and made a right mess of the cross, you've got to say. But obviously, Rangers weren't going to give Celtic the second opportunity to get away with it. Decent ball by Raskin across, and a really nice finish by Yusuf Chermiti, you've got to say. But yeah, as you said, poor defending from Celtic, well worked from Rangers, and it just was a goal that you didn't really, with how the second half started, you maybe seen coming, but with how the first half ended, you wouldn't have seen coming. And as you said with Danny Rowe, I think what I said earlier, actually, I think what his problems been, and the negative points of him in the two derby matches, is that I think sometimes he's maybe focusing too much on what the other manager's trying to do and nullifying the other manager's sort of style of play rather than just putting his players out to do what they've done successfully. And you could see right away when he brought Diamante on, rather than Asgard playing a little bit further than forward than the other two, it was a flat free sort of in midfield, Diamante off the left sort of. And Rangers just went after Celtic, and Celtic didn't have any answers. Wilfred Nancy certainly didn't have any answers, and then when Rangers get that second goal, they looked like there was no way back for Celtic at all.
Yeah, that second goal. Um, oh, disaster from start to finish um for Celtic. I mean, you could pinpoint Ralston's getting a lot of the blame, but you could, look at McGregor as well. You could look at,
Yeah,
obviously, I think one of the main culprits there is Austin Trusty. So we'll recap the goal quickly. Celtic have a throw in just in their own, just about in their own half. It's kind of messed up. Yusuf Chermiti presses, wins it back, starts breaking down the left hand side. Rather than Austin Trusty going over to cover, and play that sweeper role, which which is I think what he's meant to do in this Wilfred Nancy system. He spots Connor Barron running in behind him, and he tries to cover him, and it just opens up for Yusuf Chermiti, the whole left hand side. Takes his time, strolls in, opens up, comes off the leg of Kasper Schmeichel, 2-1 Rangers. And Ethan, if you're Austin Trusty there, like I said, you can criticise a lot of guys and a lot of Celtic players for this goal. But if you're Austin Trusty there, and I think if any of us were playing centre back, even at like the lowest level, you go over to try and take the man with the ball. You cover that. You don't just leave him wide open space to run into.
yeah, you don't know what's going through his mind there, and that's what I was thinking watching the game in real time. I was thinking, well, he's got to go at the ball, but I know Connor Barron's running over his shoulder, and he's got to keep an eye on him. I think Kieran Tierney probably had him covered by the end of it. Austin Trusty doesn't know that, and I don't know maybe whether he's trying to close the angle at the far post in order to force Chermiti to shoot near post and hope that Kasper Schmeichel saves it. But Chermiti ended up going far post anyway, or I don't know whether Austin Trusty was going, oh, this guy is someone who's struggled for goals, even though he's just scored against us. I'll just take my chances and hope that he misses. But obviously, Yusuf Chermiti done enough. I think it would be being quite harsh on Kasper Schmeichel to say he should save it. He gets a good touch on it with his leg, but obviously it doesn't change it, and it's a good finish by Chermiti and
I
a
think
massive moment for him, and it could be the turning point in his Rangers career.
obviously it's very easy for us to go over and analyse it and watch it hundreds of times when it's happening in the moment. It's very, very difficult. But I think what should be going through Austin Trusty's head there is, right, I'm going to go and cover and try and win this ball. Um, if uh, if he threads the ball through to Barron, I've done all I can. It's up to my teammates to cover. It's up to them. They've left me short here. I'm just going to go and try and win the ball. I think that's what he should be doing in that scenario.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with you, but I think there's other factors that maybe even go above Austin Trusty that sometimes in the modern day game, the managers tell the defenders how to defend these situations and say, right, if there was to be a situation, which is quite happened quite often, where a player's going to be able to run down the line and leave Austin Trusty exposed as the only defender behind the ball, then this is how you defend it. And I'm not saying that Wilfred Nancy's told him to do that, but yeah, as you said, he's got to defend the priority, which is Chermiti bearing down on goal. As you said, it was a disaster from the throw in. Ralston throws at McGregor. It's a poor pass from McGregor back to Ralston. Ralston tries to find a pass that's just not there. Chermiti does well. I don't know if you've seen the picture of the positions of the Celtic players on the throw in, but I think Austin Trusty was the only Celtic player behind the throw in taker,
That's
which
really
is just
that's really
just
interesting, isn't it?
it's just yeah, it's just baffling that how offensive Celtic are, and that is probably how at times their attacking football looks so nice and they create so many
They're
chances.
offensive to watch for many Celtic supporters.
Yes, that, but they just they just have no sort of priority in defending. It must be a nightmare. I think that's always what footballers say that if you're an attacking player and you're playing a team that plays with attacking overloads and really focuses on attacking football, that is excellent. Not this team, I would say, because of how unsuccessful the results have been, but for a defender, it's a nightmare. And for Austin Trusty,
Yeah,
it's been a nightmare for him, and I think he was someone that played pretty well in the first half. I think most Celtic players did. I thought Anthony Ralston was decent in the second half, and I think he comes away from the game as the scapegoat, which he has been for his pretty much the entirety of his Celtic career. But I think the problems go way above Anthony Ralston in this
yeah,
scenario.
yeah. Austin Trusty actually heard he was running away from the ball because he got told he's only allowed to kick Jack Butland's face. So, that that I think that was actually what happened there. No, but it's
So we still going on about this.
yeah, mate. I'll hold on to it till the day I die. No,
Oh, I
but
just wanted to. Do you want a wee start about Yusuf Chermati?
okay.
So obviously, with his double at Celtic Park, he doubled his Rangers tally. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
4 goals now for him, scoring 2 goals in just under 10 minutes. The last 2 goals he scored before this came in a spell of over 21 hours of football.
Yeah, he's finally coming on to the
That's
game.
that's a quite a crazy start, and that shows maybe how poor Wilfred Nancy's Celtic team actually are, or maybe, as you said, Yusuf Chermiti's he's turning the page, and maybe he will be the player that's worth
Yeah,
8 to 10 million or however much he's worth.
the Portuguese Ronaldo, as I like to call him. But yeah, Yusuf Chermiti, Ballon d'Or 2026. Here we go. No, but Rangers by that point probably they definitely deserved to be in front. I think after that the start to the second half, and yeah, Celtic just another thing I think you could pick up on, Ethan, is that has looked really. Um, I don't know if it's a lack of belief in the system or the manager or combination of both, or But anytime this Celtic side under Wilfred Nancy has faced any sort of adversity, they've collapsed like a house of cards.
Yeah, exactly that, and you've seen it on numerous occasions, and even the Celtic player and Celtic fan, Luke McCowan, some of his comments get released today, and they weren't.
I was about to bring that up. Yeah, very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, they weren't very good listening. I don't think for Celtic fans. They pretty much what Luke McCowan said was that we carried out the manager's plans well in the first half. They changed it at half time. We didn't change it in the second half, and I think that's what everyone can see that Wilfred Nancy, as you said, I think at the start of the show, that he's either failing to change, he doesn't have the capability to adapt to what the other manager's doing, or he's just too stubborn and he's just going to go with what he believes in, regardless of what the other manager's throwing at him. And yeah, I think it's naivety, to be honest, because you've seen it. This Celtic team are capable of putting together positive sequences of play, and you've seen that in the first half. But ultimately, you've got to adapt to what other managers are doing. You've seen it with Derek McInnes in the first game. He sussed Wilfred Nancy out after Celtic started well. They won that match 2-1. You seen it with St Mirren. They obviously opened the scoring through the corner, then Celtic equalised and looked like they're maybe going to kick on. Stephen Robinson learns from how Celtic had played, and you obviously know what happened there. It left St Mirren lifting the cup, and deservedly so. Same with Jim Goodwin. He made a change at half time, 1-0 down. They win 2-1. In very similar fashion, I think, well, not very similar fashion, but similar fashion to Rangers, as in they absolutely hound the Celtic goal in terms of pressing the opposition in the opening stages of the second half and get the goals, which ultimately win them the game. I know Mikey Moore get the third, which we'll obviously get on to. And what other examples is there? I think that's the best examples. Jens Berfalascu, because I think we're coming to accept that he's certainly one of, if not the best manager in the Scottish Premiership. That he already knew what Wilfred Nancy was going to throw at him and just got his Motherwell team to destroy Celtic from minute 0 to 90. So, yeah, I think he's becoming very predictable, Wilfred Nancy, and that's why he's lost 6 of his opening 8 games and why he's lost a staggering 18 goals in those 8 games, which is
Yeah,
remarkable reading.
just another thing as well on that. Martin O'Neill had 8 games in charge. Wilfred Nancy has had 8 games in charge. Same group of players. Martin O'Neill won 7 of those 8 games. Um, Wilfred Nancy has lost, like you said, 6 of those 8 games.
And Martin O'Neill conceded just 6 goals as well, and 3 of them came away to the league leaders at the time in the Europa League. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it's a pretty damning stat, and I think further comments that sort of Luke McCowan made as well was someone asked him about the manager, and it was something along the lines of, like, what can we do? He's the manager. We need to back him. You know what I mean? I think that's really concerning. Maybe that's a window into the psychology of the squad.
Yeah, and yeah, I think so. I think you're right, and yeah, it's a really strange situation Celtic have put themselves in. This doesn't. You can't say this is unfortunate that they've appointed Wilfred Nancy and it's not worked, because ultimately I think if Celtic really had the ambition they should do with the financial power they have and the strength of the squad they did have, the support they have from their fans, then I think they probably should have just gave Brendan Rodgers maybe a little bit more of what he wanted, because I think he's the best manager Celtic could have possibly had. And then obviously he's left, and Martin O'Neill obviously done a really good job, as we just touched on. And then they go and get this guy from MLS, who, in fairness to him, has, without a lot of experience, has a good CV in the MLS, but as we've seen, that's not really transpired into success in the Scottish Premiership. And I would love to see what the MLS coaches are doing.
For players as well, by the way. There's not been very many successes who have come over from the MLS in recent years. I've got personal PTSD from a lot of Rangers players.
Yeah, well, I think the only Celtic one, unless I'm forgetting anybody, the only Celtic one that comes to mind is Alistair Johnston, who probably has been a success. And I think Wilfred Nancy could be needing him at the minute, but whether he'll get the chance to actually play his former player in a game is another question.
It's interesting as well because he seems absolutely perfect for that wing back role, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, the wing back or the right centre back role, because that's something he played, I think, under Nancy and for Canada at the last World Cup. So, yeah, and I think Nancy was saying, obviously, in his big statement, you could call it, in the press conference before the game, which is obviously and probably backfired now, the 7 minute rant, that he doesn't play a back three. And I can kind of see what he's saying. It's not a very, what would, it's not a very, what would you say, rigid back three. But at the same time, he's got one recognised central defender on the pitch, and it's just not working. It's not working at all. Defensively, Celtic look so far from where they need to be, and yeah, I think almost every team in the Scottish Premiership maybe barring Livingston and Kilmarnock, as we'll get on to, would back themselves to beat Celtic at the minute, and that's really concerning from where Celtic even were last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as well as their deficiencies in the back line, there is a clear deficiency in between the sticks, and that'll take us on to Rangers' third goal. Um, some nice ball winning again, kind of bounces around Diamande in there, breaks out for Gassama, slides in Mikey Moore round into the 18-yard box just inside it, takes the snapshot from the angle. Austin Trusty actually gets his toe on it, which deflects it more into the path of Casper Schmeichel. Ethan there just grimacing as I'm describing that. And Schmeichel gets a weak hand to it, it bobbles over him and into the net for 3-1. Mikey Moore dukes the policeman to jump into the Rangers end to celebrate with the away supporters. Game over. And Ethan, this is another really poor goal to concede from a defensive perspective, but obviously um, all the focus will be on Casper Schmeichel, who I've said for a while now. I think you're on board now. Absolute horror season for the Big Dane.
Yeah, I think an absolute horror season, and if we go to do what we done last season as our what do we call it, best and worst 11 of the season so far. I think we'll maybe phrase that a little bit
Right, well,
better this time around.
we're just about halfway through, just over
Yeah,
halfway through, so maybe we should do
yeah,
that.
yeah. We could maybe do that in upcoming videos. Then I think he would probably be in the. I'll call it biggest underperforming 11 because worst 11 I think is quite nasty. But
Oh, now that it's your player that you want to
no,
move.
I think I think there was no, there probably wasn't Celtic players in it last season, was there? But yeah, I think it would be really interesting because there'd be obviously a really widespread of both underperforming and not overperforming, but the best players in the league this season. So yeah,
Well,
but he would certainly
maybe
be in the underperforming team. That was my point.
maybe we can do underperforming because if it was worst, it would just be a Livingston Kilmarnock combined 11. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, Rangers make it 3-1, and Jasper Schmeichel again with error after error, leading to goals. Um, and yeah, Ethan, it's in terms of the January transfer window, unless you want to give Sinisalo the reins, which Nancy seems reluctant to do, which a few managers have seemed reluctant to do. This is by far Schmeichel's worst season at Celtic, but he's had a couple of, wobbly spells, we could say, and fans have been calling for Sinisalo to maybe get an opportunity. He must be, he must be dreadful if he can't get in this team over Kasper Schmeichel. So, would you say one of
Yeah.
the main targets for Celtic this January window as a starting goalkeeper, or do you think they'll ride out the rest of the season with Kasper Schmeichel in net?
Well, I don't know, but Celtic are going to do that. I really don't. I think it's uh, it's just the gift that keeps on giving. I think to everybody, but obviously the Celtic fans with how Celtic are being run, and obviously there was a lot of fans outside the ground making their opinions known to the manager
Yeah, it was stark.
and obviously the board as well.
Put in the video today, the TikTok, stark contrast that the fans were outside giving the board abuse. They were giving the players abuse as they walked onto the bus and to their cars and stuff like that. Whereas the Rangers bus was welcomed back to Ibrox as returning heroes with fireworks and songs. So I think you can see the stark contrast. Obviously, Rangers are still in third, just behind on goals scored, I believe. But I think the reason Rangers fans are so happy, obviously they beat Celtic. Everyone's always happy when that happens from a Rangers perspective. But the worst start to Rangers season since 1978 or something like that. So you know and they've managed to drag themselves back into this title race due to Hearts not running away with it quite yet, and Celtic being so poor in it. You know, the Celtic fans are probably it adds to their fury the fact that Rangers have been so awful this season, and they're now in a position where on Tuesday they can go 3 points clear of them.
Yeah, and I think Celtic are probably looking over their shoulder now to Motherwell and Hibs. It's got that bad. And yeah, you look at who the debutant was for Celtic the other day, Araujo, who came on and didn't really he didn't really do anything wrong. He didn't really do anything to write home about. He just kind of come on and played. But I think you can see what the problem is at Celtic at the minute. Um,
The
have you had to
manager,
identify what?
the manager.
No, no, okay, yeah, but out with that, I was going to say, if you had to identify one position that Celtic really need at one player in, I don't think it would be right back. I think striker
Striker, striker.
is the main position Celtic need, and the fact that Celtic have not brought a striker in yet, I think is quite baffling to me. And I don't think Celtic have even really been linked with a striker. I've seen them are linked with a young winger from the Israeli league. I'm not sure how reliable that is. I think he's on loan from his current club.
I
Um,
saw them linked to a Uruguayan winger as well. He plays in the Brazilian league. Ignacio La Quintana. He
well, that
he's Uruguayan. He's 26 years old. He's been capped twice for Uruguay. Plays for Red Bull Bragandino, I think, is
yeah,
the
Bragantino, yeah, something like that. But yeah, that's obviously an easy sell with the appointment of his name's escaping me. The guy who was at Chelsea for the scout who was at Chelsea for 9 years, who was based in
James. James, someone that's him.
yeah, he was based in. I'll get his name up for. But he was based in South America, I believe. So that probably one would make sense. But yeah, Celtic need a lot of players. That's the.
Because he was at Chelsea before. Does that mean he identified Estevan?
Uh, Might have done. I'm not sure, but
The next
I don't know.
destination
I don't
coming
know.
to Celtic.
I don't know if Estevan needed much identifying though, did he? I think he's one of the ones that kind of everybody in Brazil knows about, and then everybody across Europe knows about, kind of thing. But no,
He's a baller. I love watching him. I know we're talking about Scottish football here, but just on a wee sidetrack, Estevez is one of my favourite players right now.
yeah, well, hopefully he's not very good against Scotland if he plays. When we obviously face Brazil and Miami in our final group game. But no, I agree with you. I think he is an entertaining talent, and I think for once that, or not for once, but maybe a slightly rarity that Celtic have hired someone that seems maybe actually up to the task. Because he seems like he's got a pretty successful CV, and he
We
can
just need
maybe
to
bring
see
in
if
some decent players.
we need to see if the football doctor can bring in some good talent this January window. No, but I think that'll conclude our chat about the old firm. It's been very very long, and now we can get on to the Dundee derby where blue reigns supreme once again. Okay, so before we move on to the Dundee derby, I just want to quickly talk about today's news coming out of Celtic. Hayato Inamura, who only joined Celtic in the summer, has barely had a sniff, has been loaned out to FC Tokyo for the remainder of the season. So, Ethan, what do you make of that?
Yeah, not really much thoughts. He's a player who played a couple games. Certainly remember one home to Livingston. He was all right, but obviously he's not been in any of the manager's real plans, and he's moving on loan, and that seemed like it was certainly Brendan Rodgers' plans when he came in, and now it seems like it is the plan. And yeah, obviously he's not a big part of the squad, but we'll see how he develops over in back in his homeland.
Yeah, and you've got the full name of that former Chelsea senior scout now, don't you?
Yes, it's James Bell Walker. Just we had to get that. So yeah, James Bell Walker. I'm
Ah,
sure we'll get used to his
Chelsea for
name.
at Chelsea for 9 years. So, like Ethan said, looks like Celtic have brought in someone that kind of knows what he's doing. So, I said just before the cut, Blue reigns supreme again. Dundee went over the road to Tannadice and came away with the 1-0 victory. Ashley Hay and the goals again. He's looking like he's coming on to a game. Um, and Stephen Presley and Dundee have won 3 games on the bounce.
Yeah, he's working his magic, Stephen Presley, and we all sort of wrote off the appointment right from the start. Even at the start of the season, we were saying how weak that Dundee squad it was, and they'd be lucky to finish. I think we all placed them maybe 12th or 11th,
Yeah,
certainly.
I think we all had them 12th,
Yeah, well,
and we perhaps had Livingston in 11th or
yeah, I
something.
think that's right. Uh, And yeah, he's proven us all wrong because I don't think I'm not changing my stance. I still think it's a pretty maybe undercooked Dundee squad they've got there, but players are turning up, and I don't think there's a lot between a lot of the teams in the league. And if the players are confident and they believe in what the manager's doing, there's a togetherness, they have belief in each other, then I think teams can do well in this Scottish Premiership, and that's what you're seeing from Dundee. 3 wins on the bounce, conceding just a single goal in the process. And yeah, I think the first, well, it is their first away win of the season in the Scottish Premiership. I believe in their 11th attempt, which would suggest to me they played everyone away from home. And what a time to choose to who to beat. I don't think they could have picked a better team than obviously not a big away day for them, as in the distance travelled, but I believe there was 3,500 Dundee fans at Tannadice who got to enjoy that, and I think they were thoroughly deserving of the 3 points, especially on their first half performance.
Yeah, they were excellent in the first half, created a lot of opportunities. Um, Richards, we've given him a lot of flack, made a few good saves as well. And yeah, but Dundee definitely were the better side on the day, and they did get the opening goal just on the stroke of half time. A header back from is it Panucci
Yeah,
Kamara?
Panucci, yeah.
Panucci Kamara evades the Dundee United defender. I want to
I
say
think
it
it
was
was
Ross Graham, but
I
um,
think it might have been Esselink, Bert Esselink.
evades Bert Esslint, goes over his head. Ashley Haight pounces, drives in, and it's a really, really nice finish from him to get his second ever Dundee goal. And you could see what it meant to him and the rest of the players as they went off to celebrate. A lot of passion in that squad. Um, and it looks like Stephen Presley maybe has perhaps found some maybe his best 11 or some of his best players to start. Obviously, Ashley Hayes come on to a game. Charlie Riley's been very, very good. Obviously, good in the game during the week last week.
Yeah,
During the
yeah,
week,
during the week, yeah.
during the week. I'm getting all turned about with all these midweek fixtures. But yeah, very, very good again. Um, One man I just wanted to highlight that I think made a couple of outstanding saves, who is, a really, I think, overall a poor goalkeeper. John McCracken had the game of his life.
Yeah, he did. He did. I think he got the. I know it seems to be a lot of goalkeepers that are getting this, which maybe tells you more about the strikers in the league rather than the goalkeepers. But I think he got the highest rating on our good friends at FootMob. No
What,
sponsor, but if you
what
want to
mob?
sponsor,
What mob? If you're watching,
yeah.
if you
But
want
no,
to, if you want to come into a 75 subscriber YouTube channel,
yeah, we're on the come. We're on the come up. And thanks again to everyone for the support. I know we said it, but we always appreciate you guys tuning into the YouTube, the Spotify, and the TikTok.
yeah,
And
just to be clear, when I say 75 subscriber YouTube channel, I'm not diminishing you guys. I'm having a wee go at us. But everyone who has subscribed and everyone who watches, we appreciate it so much. Because Yeah, and like you said, Ethan, the support over recent weeks has been terrific because there was a wee period there where we were struggling. We were getting maybe 8 views or something like that, and but everyone who's been tuning in, much appreciated.
Yeah, and we'll be bringing some better and new content and new ideas this year. Anyway, what was I talking about?
John
Uh,
McCracken, Fort Mob.
Yeah, John McCracken. Yeah, he did. He got the highest rating on football. He made a few, I think 5 saves he made. One of them in particular, the one from Lucas Stevenson, I think it was from really close range. It kind of goes through a Dundee defender and he has to get down. It's not the most powerful shot, but it's a really solid save. And yeah, because Dundee United, they huffed and puffed to get the equaliser in the second half. Dundee had chances themselves, but they never like found anything too clear cut. The Tangerines and Dundee were well deserving of the win because before Ashley Hay got his goal, which he took very well, and poor Bertie Esselink was stitched up by his teammate, I would say, putting a foot race with Hay because he is pretty quick. And then Richards was pretty helpless when it was a one-on-one there. And Hay's obviously a very confident player. I remember, I think I'm saying it at after the game at Celtic Park that he ran the Celtic defenders ragged. And just before he scored the goal, I don't know if you've seen the shot he took on the spin from the edge of the box where he could have passed it to one of his teammates and they were screaming at him, but he turned and opted for the spinning half volley attempt, which went just over the bar. And
Don't
Dundee
know
had
where the
some.
confidence comes from. To be totally honest,
Well, that's what it's about, isn't it? It doesn't, regardless of the run of scoring you're on, and we talk about him only having 2 goals for Dundee now.
he's now scored 5 career goals in senior football.
Yeah, well, what I don't know. He's got to start somewhere, hasn't he? Maybe he's got this is going to be his season, and I think he's got obviously quite fortunate that Simon Murray got that red card, which has pretty much brought him his position in the starting 11. Because Simon Murray, it takes the pressure off him because he's had a really difficult campaign so far to go from the highs of the goal scoring of last season to really struggling this season. But yeah, I loved. I don't know if you've seen when the goal went in and Stephen Presley just turns sort of round to the Tannadice crowd and just goes, "Yeah, I like this." And yeah, he's doing an excellent job, Stephen Presley, and he deserves all the credit that's coming his way. A lot of people laughed at him, including ourselves, and maybe we'll continue to laugh at him. But certainly not for his
I think
football and managing ability.
he's a character, isn't he? He's someone that will give you laughs, and but I think we've come round from laughing at him to laughing with him in a way. You know,
Yeah,
I think we've got a respect for him now that perhaps we didn't have before. He's proven to everyone, and now Dundee. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but they're only 5 points outside the top six.
yeah.
This and like this league is so close. So we could see a Stephen Presley Dundee top six push. But yeah, as for Dundee United, I think this would obviously be a really disappointing result for Jim Goodwin and Co because they are pushing for top six. This has left them out of it. They got the 3-1 win over Livingston, but before that they had the 1-1 draws with Hibs and Aberdeen. They obviously beat Celtic, but this is their first loss in five games. But I think it is quite disappointing for Dundee United. Ethan.
Yeah, exactly. And you take contrast to the last derby, obviously, across the road, along the road, over the road, whatever phrase you want to use to describe the two closest geographical stadiums in the UK, I believe. The
Are they not the closest? With two separate stadiums, closest derby in the world.
I think there's closer. I don't know why I want to say that, but I think they might be closer.
Obviously, if we're talking about the one stadium, the closest derby in the world,
Yeah,
San Siro, but with the Milan derby, but I feel like aren't they one of?
they're certainly one of. They're certainly one of. But yeah, they they went there and absolutely well, strolled that match against Dundee, and it was really comfortable for United, and they wouldn't have been thinking that halfway through the season they'd be looking over their shoulder. Their rivals being just 3 points behind them, and with the form Dundee are on, Dundee United haven't been on bad form recently either, mind you, but the form Dundee have been on, they'll be concerned that their rivals are maybe going to overtake them, and as you said, make a push for top six, because I think I'm going to say that the top five's locked. Not locked, but because I think we always go too early and stuff like this. But I think Hibs, Motherwell, and obviously what you would call the what was became the traditional three title contenders this season. I don't see any other team breaking into that top five.
Yeah,
I think Falkirk, Aberdeen, United have all switched for that sixth position right recently, and if Dundee can keep up their form, there's no reason why they can't be in contention for it either. Um,
oh, by the
yeah,
way, I've done a little bit of research here. So Tannadice and Dens are 0.17 miles apart. Malmo, FF, and IFK Malmo are 0.17 miles apart, so the same. FC Copenhagen and Boldklubben are 0.13 miles apart, and the closest derby in the world is Paris Saint Germain and Paris FC with a distance of 0.12 miles apart. So Dundee only 0.05 miles off having the closest derby in the world, but that goes to Paris.
I wanted to say it was Paris because I think I seen something, but I think the Paris FC stadium's quite new there. I don't think it's been there for a while. So um, yeah, but anyway, it's fair game. They're in the same league as well now, obviously, with Paris FC being in Liga. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Anyway, I had a weird stat from this game that where is it? The home side in the Dundee derbies has now only won one of the last 10 league derbies, which is quite strange. So in recent history, it's favoured the away side, and yeah, that's a strange thing for derbies, but that's how
That is
it's
quite,
happened in the Dundee one.
yeah, that is quite interesting, isn't it? So, but yeah, that the trend continues for Stephen Presley's Dark Blues. Really, really, really terrific for them. So yeah, I think that'll do it for our recap of the Dundee Derby. So we can move on to the rest of the division, and it wasn't short of entertainment. Uh, we'll start on the league leaders, I think, with Hearts a 1-0 win over Livingston. However, judging by the highlights and obviously the statistics, could have been a lot more. Jordi Altena on his debut for Hearts, straight in there, got the assist, a lovely cross to Craig Halkett for a sort of looping, dipping header over Jerome Prior, who I didn't think had his best game. I thought he looked really shaky in between the sticks for Livingston, really poor from crosses. I think there was one, it might have been even been in the lead up to the goal, but my brain's pure fried where he punches it away when he probably could have caught it. Why are you pulling that face, Ethan?
My brain's pure fried.
It's a professional medical term, but yeah, Jerome Prior had a poor day in between the sticks. I don't know if he could have done much. Maybe his positioning was a little bit off for this goal, but Hearts deserved winners here.
Yeah, I would agree. And you spoke on the new signing, the debutant, Jordi Altena. I don't think we've really had the chance to speak on his signing on here, but I think it looks like a really good signing, playing consistently in the Dutch second division, 4 goals and 7 assists in 23 games for a fullback is nothing to be sniffed at, and obviously gets in on that right away. I will say Halkett does the hard work though. It is a really good header from him, and Craig Halkett and Stuart Finlay continuing their goal scoring prowess this season. And
Yeah,
as you said, Hearts probably should have got
Halkett's
more.
Halkett's pulled level with them now, 4 goals apiece.
They'll be having a battle, I think, between them. I think probably in the changing room a bit of banter to see who's going to be the top scorer come the end of the season. But as you said, they should have really kicked on in the first half and got more goals than they did. And then in the second half, I don't know if maybe Wilfred Nancy had made the trip to Edinburgh in time for the kick-off, because in the second half it looks like Hearts weren't really up to much. They had two shots, none on target. Livingston had seven, two on target. So maybe David Martindale will feel his team could have sneaked a little, which would have been a very, very important point for Livingston based on the struggles they've had recently. But based off the balance of the full 90 minutes, Hearts probably deserved to win. And the only surprise, I think, for anybody looking at the scoreline was that Hearts didn't win by more. Because I think we predicted, 5 and 6 wins for Hearts. So, yeah. But the main thing is Hearts pick up 3 points and bounce back from the Derby Day disappointment last weekend, because that's always the thing we're looking out for with Hearts, is that if they do lose and they do have a setback, are they going to be able to bounce back? And they've continued to do it so far. I think we both said that the bubble was burst after they had lost to Aberdeen and they had a few draws, but they've shown that they're still there to fight. And obviously a really good weekend for them because they extend their lead at the top of the league to 6 points.
Yeah, absolutely. They showed sort of um, real resilience, I think, in that period, and when all of us had written them off, and they've got back to winning ways after a disappointing Derby defeat the other week also. So yeah, Hearts are in a good position to maintain this league lead in the league, obviously, and I think we'll see more from their Jamestown analytics. I think they've actually named it something Hearts related, but I can't really remember. But they announced the launch of their sort of new scouting program. So yeah, they've. I'll see if I can pull that up actually because it's bothering me. But
Yeah.
um,
But
obviously,
yeah,
sorry, Ethan. I was just going to say, obviously, with that, they'll be bringing in new players. Islam Chesk and Oliver still to come into the squad as well. So, it's exciting times for Hearts. And, well, I think just based on what we've seen, I mean, because obviously Rangers did get the win, but Celtic outplayed them in the first half. And there's still a long way to go for this Rangers side. I think that the most stable of all three clubs is Hearts.
yeah, I completely agree. I didn't watch the early kickoff on Saturday and come away with my opinion changed on Hearts being the strongest team in the league. I know Rangers were really good and a massive win for them in the second half to take 3 points in a big win for Danny Rowe, but I still think Hearts are the strongest team and they've got a really nice, it looked like a really nice run of fixtures on paper, going away to Dundee, but now that looks like a really tricky game.
Yeah.
Going to Neds Park with the run Dundee have been on, and they've been a lot better at home usually. I know they got that win at Tannadice. Then they've got St Mirren at home, which again we'll get to St Mirren, but you would fancy them. And then they've got Celtic at home, which I
Mm.
don't think anybody can imagine Celtic going to Tynecastle and getting a result. They've already failed twice against Hearts this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, once at home and once away under Brendan Rodgers and Wilfred Nancy. So yeah, I'm still probably saying that Hearts are my favourites in the minute, but it's been a wacky old season, as I keep saying, and I'm open to change.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a little bit confused. So this is the announcement. Um, this comes from the Edinburgh Evening News. Hearts have confirmed the launch of their new talent strategy, the Hearts Way, which will run in conjunction with the Jamestown Analytics scouting system and aims to support the club's young players through the Boys and Girls Academy, professional development phase, and senior squads. So
Well,
another positive step for them from top to bottom.
yeah, exactly, and they've obviously seen this is successful and this works, and I think we've seen it across the board in football that data-driven analytics and basing not everything on data, because I think some fans certainly get frustrated at some of the stuff that's based on data nowadays. especially the amount of people that complain about players' minutes being managed and stuff like that. It's all down to data as well, obviously. And but it's worked for Hearts, and there's no reason why to.
All the old heads hate XG.
Yeah, yeah. Well, some other people hate younger people hate XG as well, but I quite like it. I think it's not a be all and end all stat, but it usually gives you a sort of baseline knowledge of a game and a baseline knowledge of a player and a threat that a player can have. And it's obviously worked for Hearts. It's not by luck. It's not pulling a rabbit out of a hat. They've done their homework and it's worked, and they should
Well,
continue to do it, and they will continue to do it.
also as well though, don't they look for like a minimum of like 2,000 professional minutes or something like that as well before signing someone also?
Yeah, yeah, I think they do. I think they do. And I'm sure maybe in the future, once it becomes a little bit more, I don't know what you would say, that they become a wee bit more comfortable, maybe they'll look for a few players that they don't expect to have key roles in the team immediately, and they'll go and sign some younger players. But obviously, they're well in the race for a title, and in January they'll be prioritising their business to signing players that can immediately help that squad, like Altena. It's Altena, isn't it? The right back. Obviously did.
I've flip flopped on the pronunciation. I'm hard and fast on his first name because he's Dutch. I'm going with Jordi, but I've gone Altena and then I've gone Altenia. So I've flip flopped on the pronunciation.
What about Altena?
Altena, Jordi Altena. Yeah, we'll go for that. Big Jordi, but and obviously as well, Islam Cheskanov looks like an exciting player, and um, based on the signings so far, I have no doubt that he'll probably come in and rip it up in a Hearts shirt. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I was
that
just gonna I was gonna talk about I was just going to talk about Livingston quickly. Although it's still probably doom and gloom for Livingston, and we still all expect them to finish rock bottom, as I'm sure the Livingston fans won't have any problem with us saying. They have got a really decent run for Livingston standards coming up. They've got St Mirren at home, which I think is something they can look to take something from. Then they've got Kilmarnock at home on Saturday, the Saturday coming, which could be a real battle for us deciding who the worst team in the league is. And I think we spoke about this just before we came on to the recording that I think if I had to pick a team for that match at the minute, I'd probably go towards Livingston.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Livingston in those games could pick up some points based on the other teams running form, and I'd probably agree. I probably would favour them over Kilmarnock at the moment. And I think that'll take us on nicely over to Rugby Park, where Kilmarnock lost again. Uh, this is diabolical. If you're a Kilmarnock fan, like our good friend Laurie Finlayson, who is actually away on a cruise this week. Again, he's becoming a bit of a cruise regular, so he didn't need to sit through the pain of watching his side lose again. Unfortunately, he was at Dens during the week there, but he managed to escape this one. And yeah, really, really poor 3-1 defeat to Hibs. They score early on in the game through Yuan, who gets the header from a nicely worked corner, one from the training ground. It looked like there, and but oh gosh, I'm already losing my train of thought. Kilmarnock equalise, I believe, through Tyrese John Jules, a bit of a stramash. Nice play from him to get it out and into the goal. Yuan then puts Hibs in front again. Sort of, am I being really harsh on Oluwayemi here, uh, Ethan, for the goal, or I feel like he could do a lot better with that rather than sort of drop it right back down into a
Let me
deep
see. I'm
position.
just rewatching it again now, and I'll give you my live setting reaction because I can't remember. The highlights is just on the John Jules goal, and now let me see. I think we're getting the goal now. The Elie Yuan second. Oh, yeah, I get what you're meaning. I do get what you're meaning. It's a shot from far out the box from McGrath, is it? Jamie McGrath, is it, that takes the shot?
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, he kind of does. Yeah, he does unfortunately well to pick out Elie Yuan there, I've got to say. But take nothing away from Yuan, he does well because he's got to bring it in tight to
Are you
control it. And then,
are you still watching it?
yes,
You've seen this weird celebration that he's doing where he's just staring up into the stands and there's a wee kid trying to get his attention and he's just staring away ahead of him.
yeah, I just watched that there.
I was about to use a phrase I never thought I'd use on this podcast. Bro's just aura farming.
Oh no! Oh no!
We've gone full brain rot on the Dugout podcast. But I never thought I'd say brain rot either. But yeah, Yuan grabs the second. Then before Hibs' third, David Watson is sent off in the 80th minute. I can see Ethan's just trying to get onto that and his highlights there. I can see his eyes moving about. I'll give
Yes,
my I'll give my initial reaction. I feel like this is another one of these ones where if it was given as a yellow on the pitch, they wouldn't have went to VAR and overturned it, but because it was given as a red, they've stuck with the referee's decision.
yeah. I spoke to some Kilmarnock fans that I know, and they were not too bothered about it being a red card. They thought they could understand why it was given. He's obviously late. I think David Watson's a player that plays with that sort of intensity that sometimes he's going to be late. You obviously seen it last. That was last weekend. Yeah, that was last weekend against St Mirren when he slid into Idowu and probably should have been penalised, and St Mirren should have been awarded a penalty. He got away with that. He didn't get away with this one, and it left Kilmarnock with no way back, and just it compiles the misery because ultimately Kilmarnock are going to now on their 13 games without a win. They're going to be without their best player going into their next game, which is a very win it. No, no, actually no. I'm thinking of Livingston's fixtures. Kilmarnock play Livingston in 2 games. No, Kilmarnock play Livingston next. Yes, because they don't have a game in hand.
Okay, after
Sorry,
that,
that was my.
well,
I was just sort of voicing my thoughts there. I thought
you know that thing when you have that wee voice in your head. You just said all of that out loud.
yeah, I'll just explain to the viewers and listeners what I was thinking. So, obviously, Livingston, Kilmarnock's next game is at Livingston, but Livingston's next game is not at home to Kilmarnock, it's at home to St Mirren because Livingston are playing a game in hand, which St Mirren have also. Uh, and
Yappa,
yeah,
yappa,
so
yappa.
so I was right initially, and then
Moving on to the
yeah,
Hibs penalty. Jamie McGrath does really well to break into the box. Some clever play from him to get his foot in front of the Kilmarnock defender. He is brought down in an effort for a last ditch sliding challenge. And this is a clear penalty for me, Ethan.
yes, yep, agreed.
Still looking at it live. It's as if he's watching the game. It's as if it's a watch along, a live watch along, guys. But yeah, Hibs get the penalty, and Jamie McGrath steps up from the spot. And unless he's coming up against Jack Butland, you'd probably back him. So yeah, really, really good win for Hibs. Sort of keeping themselves within touching distance of the likes of Motherwell, Rangers, and Celtic. So yeah, that really, really good win for Hibs, Ethan.
Yeah, exactly that, and it's good for them, and probably brings them a lot of confidence to score 3 goals and win pretty comfortably without Kieran Bowie or Martin Boyle in the starting 11. Kieran Bowie was back on the bench and came off for a little, or came on, sorry, for a little cameo. But yeah, that'll give them confidence. Elie Yuan, I think everybody knows he's a very talented player. And obviously, we've had the spats before between himself and Michael Stewart over him doing keepy ups when Hibs were on that terrible run at the start of last season and stuff like that. But
Marvin
at
Bartley had
least,
a go at him as well.
oh yeah, so he did. Um, Maybe it was Marvin, but no, it was Michael Stewart at the time. I think, or was it
Yeah,
Marvin
Michael
Bartley?
Stewart had to go at him for the keep ups, but Marvin Bartley had to go at him because Yuan was posting Man of the Match awards after like drawing, and they were like 11th at the time or something.
Oh yeah. You're correct. Yeah, thank you for reminding me there. Yeah, but yeah, my point was he's obviously a talented player, and he showed that, and he's an asset to Hibs when he's on his game and his head's in the right space.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We'll move on to Falkirk, who got the 1-0 win over Aberdeen. Philip Lissa with the only goal of the game. A nice goal from him. But I don't really want to get bogged down too much in this game, Ethan. Just very quick talking points because obviously there's a big talking point we get to speak about. We need to speak about outside of the game itself. But Falkirk looked like they deserved the win. Kevin Nisbet had a bit of a howler of a chance early on where he should have done much better. Falkirk now firmly in the top six. They have a game in hand on the two teams above them, and they are 2 points ahead of Dundee United, whereas Dundee United, and they have a game in hand on Dundee United as well. So really, really positive for Falkirk. Aberdeen fallen down into eighth. They have lost their last two league games. They're 5 games in all competitions without a win, losing 4 of those. Their last win came against Kilmarnock, and before that it was Dundee, a 3 straw with St Mirren, and a 1-0 win against Livingston. So, it's not been super convincing, and that has led to the departure of now former Aberdeen manager Jimmy Tulline.
Yeah, exactly that. I think you could see it coming. The manner of the game as well. Obviously, Aberdeen will expect to beat Falkirk, regardless of how impressive Falkirk have been this season for a newly promoted team. But that's now Falkirk beat Aberdeen twice, home and away, 1-0 on both occasions. Big win for John McGlynn, as you touched on, to get back into the top six. I think they'll be in the running for that, along with the other teams that we mentioned earlier. For Aberdeen, being in the running for the top six isn't good enough for the ambitions of where the club want to be. They're looking at Motherwell, they're looking at Hibs, they're looking at Hearts, and they'll feel that they're not doing enough. And Jimmy Tulline's obviously majorly responsible for that, despite the highs he's shown. Aberdeen with the run they went on to start last season, of course, nothing more than the Scottish Cup win at the end of last season, but it's just never really got going this season, and I can see why they've dismissed them. I think they had 7 shots in the game, none on target. Falkirk dominated both halves, got their goal. It was a well worked goal, but terrible defending from Aberdeen. It was a decent ball from Calvin Miller, and Lissa just arrives at the 6 yard box unmarked, and a good header from him for his
Oh yeah, I just wanted
first
to add
professional
something.
goal.
See, I'll be honest, I'd forgotten how he scored, but see, you've just reminded me of that unmarked. He just drifts in.
Yeah.
No one around him, and it's a really, really, it's good that he scored, but awful defending from Aberdeen there, and it has been coming. I think for Jimmy Tulline, I think Aberdeen, you know, they had a poor start, really poor start. They got back to winning ways and looked like things were up. But for the longest time, Ethan, I don't know about you, but I've just had a flat feeling about them. Um, just like sort of nothing feeling about Aberdeen as a team. No excitement. No like, not like oh they're terrible, but not like oh these guys there's something there. It's just like oh it's Aberdeen. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. They're not a very exciting team at the minute, and I'm sure the fans feel that as well. And they've obviously been shown the highs of where they can go, both in the league and the cups. And you just can't imagine this Aberdeen team doing anything this season, and they want to be on a forward trajectory, looking to close the gap between themselves. Immediately between themselves and Hearts, but obviously the aim at the start of the season would have been to close the gap to Rangers and Celtic, like Hearts have done. So that's where Aberdeen can be, and I know they've not got the £10 million investment from Tony Bloom or whatever, but they're still well underperforming for what I would say is the third biggest club in Scotland. So yeah, I'm just going to read a few things from the what would you say, the statement from Aberdeen, which is quite a nice statement, because I think it's one where situation where Jimmy Tulane and the Aberdeen board have came into agreement on this and have understood that this had to end. Well, so the Aberdeen chairman, Dave Cormack, said, in wishing Jimmy and Krista the very best for the future, I want to thank them for delivering our first Scottish Cup win in 35 years last May. These memories will last a lifetime, and Jimmy will be forever etched into Aberdeen's history for delivering such a special day for our supporters as one of only 6 Aberdeen managers to win the Scottish Cup. I'll go on to what Jimmy Tulane added. He said, "Today my time as manager at Aberdeen comes to an end. It is with great respect for the historic club that I accept this decision. Results ultimately decide the tenure of this profession, and as such, I take my share of responsibility." We went on to say another few things. I would also like to thank the supporters. Your passion for your team never wavers, even in disappointment. Aberdeen will forever be a part of my journey, and it has been an honour to lead this great club and share that memorable day together at Hampden. So, quite a nice farewell for a manager being dismissed by usual standards, and I imagine that Jimmy Tulane accepts, as he probably comes across in the statement, that he wasn't doing a good enough job at Aberdeen anymore, and he comes across as a really honest manager, and I'm sure the Aberdeen fans appreciate that, and they'll be forever grateful of what he done for their football club.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes across as they've accepted that it wasn't working. There's no bad blood there between them. I doubt there'll be any bad blood from the supporters. Um, they like it said in that statement, the supporters will forever have those memories, and he's obviously I'm not an Aberdeen fan, but I don't think I'd be too wrong in saying he's a legend for bringing the Scottish Cup back to Pittodrie for the first time in 35 years, like you just said, Ethan. So yeah, all the very best to him, and he's wherever he goes next.
Yeah, and it looks like Peter Leaving will be taking interim charge again. He obviously did a few seasons ago, I think it was now, and pretty interesting because he was obviously in the running, the final 3 candidates that were linked with the Kilmarnock job, along with Robbie Neilson and Neil McCann. He was rumoured to have pulled out of the running, and this might have been why he might have got an incline, or maybe got a sort of
An
sort
inkling.
of yeah, an incline. I don't know why I said an incline. Um, yeah, I don't know why I said that. From the situation, and probably Cormac and Aberdeen hierarchy told him, and with the Jimmy Tulane statement, I think it was clear to everyone how many games Jimmy Tulane had probably to turn it around, and what would happen if the defeat of Falkirk happened and the way it happened. So now he has the chance to manage Aberdeen again, probably on an interim basis again. But yeah, I think Aberdeen need to get this appointment right, because the last few they haven't. I know Jimmy Tulane brought a Scottish Cup, and as we touch on, the memories will last a lifetime. But ultimately, they need a long term project, and that's what they've not had for too many years now. And they need something. Well, I'll go back to probably Derek McInnes was the last one that was a sort of long term project. Everything after that's been a little bit, well, unsuccessful, and you'd have to say Jimmy Tolane's been unsuccessful as in a long term project, with, of course, delivering the Scottish Cup.
Yeah, Yeah. I think that'll do it for sort of the Jimmy Tulane talk. Talk. And we'll move on to the sixth and final fixture. This has been a long podcast. If you're still with us, why? No, thank you. uh, moving on to Motherwell versus St Mirren. A 2-0 win for the Steelmen. Tawanda Maswanisi making a massive impact coming back from AFCON with a goal and an assist. Um, the first goal showing his pace and ability. Really nice finish from him, and behind the St Mirren defence. And then he gets the assist, laying it off for Elliot. What a goal! Uh, Using that one again, Ethan hates it. It was a terrific finish from a man who has been heavily linked to a switch to Ibrox in these opening stages of the January window. So if he keeps up this form, I'm certain Rangers will still have him on his radar. However, the team that he's currently at could be making a run at dragging themselves into this title race. The three above them do have a game on hand, but they are only 2 points behind Celtic and Rangers. So, yeah, a really positive result for Motherwell, Ethan. However, St Mirren have now suffered back-to-back losses. They obviously drew 0-0 with the really poor Kilmarnock as well. So obviously they probably should have won that game. We should have had a penalty, but maybe a little bit concerning for St Mirren. They're down in 10th, only 5 points ahead of Kilmarnock. Granted, they do have 2 games in hand on them. But yeah, really positive for Motherwell. They keep up their good form. Good to have Maswanise back. Not so great for the Buddies.
Yeah, exactly that. I think you summed everything up there. And to land the mass when he said we knew he was going to be a big addition to Motherwell when he came back. He was obviously their main attacking outlet, and he showed that with popping up with a goal and assist. Really nice finish for the first one. Good ball by Just. They caught St Mirren open. It's a really nice finish from Tawanda Maswanise to get his second goal in the space of a week from Marrakesh to Motherwell. That's quite a transition for the Zimbabwe forward, but two really nice goals as well, I've got to say. And then obviously he sets up Watt, but yeah, I think sets up Watt is generous to Maswanise because that's an excellent goal and probably Motherwell's two standout performers this season, you'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Elliot Watt's been terrific, as has Tawanda Maswanise. I'd say along with Eli Just, who is, he is, maybe he's not top of the charts in terms of goals and assists. I think he's quite high on the assist chart, but you see every time he's on the ball how he impacts games, how he takes players out of the game. He's been terrific as well. Also, as well, I think one player from Motherwell's sort of been overshadowed, and I think he's had a really good past few games. He won man of the match against Rangers on Fort Mob, and made a few big saves against Celtic, and made some big saves again against St Mirren. Callum Ward, I think, has been terrific between the sticks.
Yeah, and some people were at the start of the season. I think there was a few occasions where he made mistakes, and I think it was probably during Motherwell's run of draws where they couldn't get that win at the start of the season, and people were saying, "Oh well, he's just in the team because he's good with the ball at his feet." But he's shown over recent games and the excellent run Motherwell are on over the last 9 games. They've only conceded that one goal at Ibrox, and that's over 13 and a half hours of football, which is absolutely a ridiculous run for Motherwell. And they lead the league in clean sheets, 11 clean sheets from, what would it be, 21 games? Yeah, 11 clean sheets from 21 games. So over a clean sheet every other game. They've conceded the least goals in the league. I will say, I did say earlier, I like my expected goal stats. They are expected to have conceded 25 goals, and they've only conceded 16. But a lot of the teams in the league have also outperformed their XG conceded. Let me see. Hearts have outperformed it. Rangers have outperformed it. Hibs have outperformed it. So yeah, Falkirk as well. Aberdeen, well, Dundee United, Dundee, and even Kilmarnock slightly. So yeah, that's not to say much, but Motherwell look like a real force to be reckoned with, and if they can keep up their defensive stability, there's no reason why they can't find goals on the other end, especially with Tawanda Masonise back fit and firing. And Elijah Just, yeah, it was definitely a good shout. I think he missed a bit of a portion of the season with an injury as well. So yeah, but he's a player that just sort of oozes class when you see him play. And Motherwell get a great team. As I said earlier, Jens Bevelasquez done an excellent job. And as I'll keep saying, Motherwell fans should enjoy every second of Jens' ball because I don't see him staying in Motherwell for too long. I think he'll be snapped up by another club because I think he's a really, really good manager and Motherwell can do special things this season.
Yeah, definitely. And I think me and you were chatting the other day, and I said at the moment, in terms of just manager for manager, I'd probably have Jens in over Danny Rule. Although I'm excited to see what Danny Rule could do with a transfer window under his belt. So we'll wait and see for that. And of course, he is the Rangers manager at the moment. So as a Rangers supporter, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But
I just wanted to touch lastly, just give my thoughts on St Mirren. I'm starting to get a little bit worried about them because
me
I
too.
think we always say that St Mirren are going to be there or thereabouts for the top six and whatever. They've got one game in hand on Falkirk. They're 9 points behind. It gets to the stage when are they going to start picking up the points on a regular basis to get into that top six and compete for those European places? Because at the moment they've got just over half of the points that it requires to be in those top five European places. So St Mirren are miles off it, and I know obviously they won the League Cup, which probably makes the season a success in itself. But knowing Stephen Robinson and what those players said to you when you spoke to them after the game at Hampden, they wanted to make it a really memorable season by going to Europe again. So yeah, they'll need to start picking up points soon. Although they've got a few big matches coming up. Livingston away, Falkirk at home. They're two matches that they need to be picking up points if they want to have any aspirations of climbing up the table.
Yeah, definitely. And they, from being there after the cup final, you got a real sense that they believe that they can do it. But the cup final hasn't been the springboard that we all thought it would be for St Mirren. And obviously, I mean, if they end up finishing 10th or whatever, it's still a successful season for St Mirren coming away with the League Cup. But you can tell those players and probably Stephen Robinson, who's become sort of a top six specialist, will be disappointed if they can't do it again and perhaps get back to Europe and give the fans something else to crow about their season. So yeah, it is concerning for St Mirren, and they do really need to start picking up points. I mean, let me just have a look at their run. So very very good chance of coming up on Tuesday against Livingston, although it might be a little bit
I don't
tight.
know. I think that might be a banana skin for St Mirren. I can see, and I know I backed Livingston the other week to get something off Dundee United, but St Mirren are struggling to find the back of the net, and that's exactly what Livingston need at the minute. Because as we've seen, they've not been too far away on a few occasions. Livingston, it's the odd goal here and there they're losing by, but they've got to start making the Set Fair Arena, Livingston Stadium, whatever you want to call it, Tony
Spaghetti had.
Macaroni. Yeah, Spaghetti had, whatever you want to call it. They need to start making that the fortress it once was when even the likes of Celtic and Rangers feared going there, and even the good Celtic teams feared going there. The Ange Postecoglou and Brendan Rodgers of the past teams feared going there when Wilfred Nancy's team rock up and win pretty easily, barring an early scare. So, yeah, they've got to do better, Livingston, and I'm sure David Martindale's capable of getting a tune out of those players, but I still have them as firm favourites to finish bottom of the league or at least be in contention for those bottom two places.
Kilmarnock are making a good run at that, by the way.
Yeah, but they're rivaling them for the worst team in the league
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so St Mirren, they've got Livingston away from home, then Falkirk at home, then Hearts at Tynecastle, then Livingston in the Cup, and then both the Dundee sides to round out January. So that's it's not an easy run for
Yeah.
the baddies. They could be in trouble if they don't pick up the results. But um, yeah, I think that'll do it for today's long episode of the Dugout
Should we?
podcast.
Do you think we should give quick predictions for the two midweek games then?
Well, if you want, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've started making it a little thing for the midweek games, saying as they're on every midweek. So there's only two, so may as well.
Okay. Livingston versus St Mirren. I'm gonna back the Paisley Saints to get a win here. I just think, although they haven't been picking up results, I just think Livingston are too leaky at the back. Despite, even though St Mirren struggle to score, I just feel like they will, and I'm gonna go with 2-1 to St Mirren.
I'm going to go with Livingston 1, St Mirren 1. I think it'll be a draw and a point for Livingston. A good point for Livingston. Well, is it a good point for Livingston though? Because where is the 3 points going to come from? I think a point for both teams, and they'll both see it as a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Um. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that in terms of if it did end up in a draw, would both teams probably would see it as a missed opportunity for the three. And the other game is Danny Rose Rangers. You just got to roll with it, taking on Peter Leven's Aberdeen. Ethan's been fuming at me the whole podcast, just because obviously we've made it clear we're Rangers and Celtic. I'm Rangers, he's Celtic, and in the breaks I've been giving it tight to him, so he's secretly been fuming at me the whole time. But
No, it's just a terrible patter I'm giving that, to be honest.
my patter's immaculate. So we have Danny Rose Rangers taking on Peter Leven's Aberdeen, and um, I'm gonna go off the back of a ever important Old Firm victory. Taking on a side who have just lost their manager. I'm gonna go with a convincing 4-0 win for Rangers.
Oh, very confident. Oh,
I'm always confident.
no, I know you are. I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with a little bit of a surprise here.
Oh,
I'm not. I'm not. I'm
Coke
not.
that.
Uh, no, I'm not. I'm going to go with Rangers 3, Aberdeen nil. I think it'll be a comfortable win for Rangers, and they'll kick on from the win at Celtic Park.
I'm gonna make a further prediction for the game. The Portuguese Ronaldo to get a hat trick. Here we go.
Oh, that's a big prediction. That is a big prediction indeed.
And
Yeah,
Manny Fernandez to get the other one. to
yeah. Well, okay.
keep him in the running with Stuart Finlay and Craig Halkett. But oh, by the way, I think I made a mistake earlier. I think they might be on 5 apiece actually from set pieces. From well, not set pieces for centre back goals, but I'm assuming most of
It's
them.
more than any. I don't know. Maybe I was going to say that that's more than any Celtic and Rangers players, but I think there is Celtic and Rangers players with 5 goals in the league.
Benjamin Nigrin has 8.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that.
But yeah, that will conclude this long episode of the Dugout podcast. Thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Make sure to check out us on all platforms: Spotify, drop us a follow, give us a 5-star rating, YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave your comments, leave your thoughts and opinions on what you think we can do to improve the podcast. We want to hear ideas. We want to hear ideas for other videos. We're not strict on doing this recap every week. We want to branch out, do some more stuff. Make sure to check out the TikTok, just at the Dugout on TikTok, and check out the Twitter at the Dugout 2024. We're going to be getting more active throughout the January window as we did in the summer. And yeah, stay tuned. It's looking to be an exciting January, an exciting 2026. Thank you and goodbye.